It's a new revolution in Union soccer. Alejandro Bedoya made his MLS debut in Foxborough last night. He didn't do anything sexy, but he's sexy. Okay, no homo. Didn't mean it like that. Brian Wright is here. I'm Adrian Fenke. Let's talk about this debut. What did you think? The first road win in 5 months for the Union.
Yeah, it's a nice way to get off the schneid on the road there against a team that they have done pretty well against in the New England Revolution. A much-needed road win. And for Alejandro Bedoya, quiet but effective in the holding midfield role there. But, yeah, this definitely is a big 3 points, and I think it can only get better from here because they're only going to learn to play together more smoothly, and I think things are definitely looking up.
It definitely seems that Bedoya has provided a huge boost for the Union. Obviously, they've been kind of stuck in a little quagmire recently, but it seems like, the addition of him has really energized this club. Maybe it's because they played New England. They're not really that good of a team. But 4 goals last night, what do you think about that? Is it because they played a bad opponent, or is there really some added energy to this squad?
A little bit of both. In the 7 years of Union history, they've done pretty well against New England, fallen off in the last few years. But the Revs aren't a slouch. They have some very good talent. But you could see right from the outset of the game that all the Union guys definitely had some jump. I'm sure they probably knew well ahead of time that Bedoya was going to start. But when you look at that midfield, they're pretty hard and fast stuck to the 4-2-3-1. So you're attacking 3. You've got Elsinho, you've got Pontius, you've got Barnetta, you've got Edu and Bedoya when Edu comes back. That's definitely a playoff midfield and one that could potentially lead them to an MLS Cup. So the energy is definitely back with the team.
Okay. Now let's talk about what Bedoya did last night. Just, what he provided to the team. I got some stats for you guys. So, from what I've seen, this is I actually watched the game last night. He mostly strung things together. He found good spaces, linked play really well. And you look at the stats here. Led the Union by completing 39 of 45 passes, 87% efficiency rate. Very effective in the final third, connecting on 12 of 14 passes there. What did you see out of his play, Brian?
I just think he as you said, and those stats illustrate, he's a quiet but very effective midfielder. He's versatile, so he actually started in the number 10 role, but he kind of floats around. But he's very good at just keeping things flowing. So the ball moves seamlessly from the back to the midfield, then straight to the forward. So you have guys like Pontius and Barnetta that can run off of him. CJ Sapong holds the ball well. So you can have Barnetta. Bedoya does really well with making those quick passes, making quick runs. I think it's just going to help them create. The team is already very good at creating offensive chances. And with him in there, essentially taking the place of Vincent Nogueira, who was the team's best passer, Bedoya slides seamlessly into that role. So they're only going to get better offensively.
Yeah, and let's talk about Nogueira. This is a guy that the Union have really not replaced as of yet since the Frenchman's departure in mid-June. He led the Union in passing in all but one of the 8 games he played. He averaged 57.8 passes per game, which is, a lot more than the next Union midfielder, Tranquilo Barnetta, 38.4 passes per game. So, like you kind of said, seamlessly fills that role for the Union.
Absolutely. Yeah, and he, like we said, they've been pretty much a sieve defensively since Nogueira left. They've been trying to fill that void with Warren Creval and Brian Carroll in those holding midfield spots. Now, I like Brian Carroll. He's a very good player. He's 35 years old, I believe, and he's made over 350 MLS appearances. He's getting up there, and he picked up an injury because he's playing too much for his age. So the Union needed to address that spot because Maurice Edu is not ready yet. He will be. I think he's back in full training. But so you can't if this team has MLS Cup aspirations, which under Ernie Stewart it certainly looks like they do, you needed to go out and fill that number 8 role with somebody big. And Bedoya slides right in there perfectly, and hopefully they'll keep rolling, and the defense won't be as taxed because they'll be able to press a little bit in the midfield and stop the gaps from showing up between the midfield and the defense.
All right, let's talk about the first goal. CJ Sapog scores right away. Fabinho makes that run down the left-hand side before crossing it. New England kind of stopped playing. They thought the ball went out of bounds. It clearly didn't when you watched it on replay. Pretty nice goal right away, right out of the bat. Relieves all the pressure for the Union. It's 1-0, not even 2 minutes into the game.
Yeah, that was a really nice way to start. And, I think going into the game, there probably was some mixed emotions because they knew you had some extra energy because they knew Bedoya was starting. But they hadn't won a game since July 9th against D.C. at home. And essentially, these Eastern Conference games are always 6-point swings because heading into the game, I think New England was only trailing them by 4 points in the standings. So to come out on the road and get a goal 2 minutes in was the perfect way to start. And to make things more fun for the Union, if you watched, the two defenders that were tracking Fabinho down that left side stopped playing because they thought the ball went out, which is hilarious because you learn when you're 5 years old that you don't stop playing until you hear the whistle.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny too. I really did. So in all, Bedoya plays 72 minutes. Now, do you think that he got taken out early because of the score or because he's not fit yet?
A little bit of both. I think the heat in New England also had a bit to do with it. But you have to remember these guys that have been in MLS a long time. They're in, August is the dog days of the season for MLS, because it goes similar to the length of baseball season. But for Bedoya, who's played his entire career in Europe, he's in preseason mode. So he probably wasn't 90 minutes match fit. So 70, for somebody who's just getting up to fitness, 72 minutes is fine. And if you saw, they certainly have depth because Bedoya came out in the 72nd minute there. In came Roland Alberg, who they subbed in there for Vin Nogueira once Nogueira left, and Alberg scored probably the best goal of the night there in stoppage time. So and you always say with teams in Europe that have aspirations for cup glory over there, you want two very good players at each position, and that's what Ernie Stewart preaches. So the fact that they have enough depth that you can take out a U.S. national teamer like Bedoya and put in a Roland Alberg, who has been very successful playing in the Eredivisie over in the Netherlands, speaks volumes to what Ernie Stewart is trying to achieve with this team.
Okay. All right, let's talk about some of Bedoya's comments from earlier in the week. He referenced Ernie Stewart talking about, wanting to come to the Union. He's excited because he thinks this team can make a run to an MLS Cup. And here are some of the quotes he said. I was very humbled, and it was amazing to see the responses I got when I said it was my Philly move and I was moving away from Europe. You see, every club that I've been part of, I've been blessed to have made a difference, and that really humbled me. And I think wherever I've been, I've met the challenge in front of me. I think there've been a handful, not more than 10 Americans that have been playing consistently for a top team in Europe in a top league, and I've been doing that. So for people to say that I've been taking the easy way or whatever they say, coming back to MLS, that's a lot of BS because I've done the hard stuff, and I've been able to perform in Europe at a club like Nantes in one of the best leagues. I'm coming here for a bunch of different reasons, and one of them now is another challenge that's in front of me, being part of this Philly team and taking them into the playoffs and making a run. So what do you have to say about those comments there?
I think he makes a lot of good points there. Now, like he said, you don't see a lot of Americans plying their trade in Europe exclusively. When MLS was young, you'd have players that start in MLS and then go over to Europe and never come back. But the fact that a lot of them are coming back now speaks volumes about the league's growth. Granted, you have some of the bigger names that come back for the higher salary, like a Clint Dempsey, who's making a lot of money. Now, Bedoya's salary is in the $1 million range, which is a lot for the Union. But he could have had his pick of L.A., New York City, Seattle, Toronto. He could have. I think he would have, if he had wanted one of those teams. He could have played there. But he sees what Ernie Stewart is trying to build here, and he knows that he can be an integral part of it. And I think it speaks volumes again about Ernie Stewart and about the fundamental shift in philosophy the club has had since getting rid of Nick Sakiewicz. That you have a potentially a $1 million player in transfer fee and salary wanting to come to the Union.
Yeah, and I talked about Bedoya earlier, bringing a jolt to this Union squad. It's also providing a jolt to Philadelphia because the top trending topic last night in the city was Alejandro Bedoya. So people are definitely tuning in. They're definitely interested, like myself, to want to watch him play. And obviously that means more and more people are going to come out to these games and support this team. It's a great time and to be a fan of the club.
I'm actually very, like we've said on these shows before, that Bedoya is going to do wonders to bring in some casual fans for the Union. And the fact that his name was the top trending topic on Twitter last night only reinforces that point. Now, I'm interested to see, next week is his home debut against Toronto FC, and I think you're going to get a sellout and more for that game. Toronto's very good. Toronto has Michael Bradley and Sebastian Giovinco, so you'll get fans out to come and see those guys regardless. But now that the Union can compete with anybody, they're going to come out just as much to see Pontius, to see Bedoya, to see Barnetta, to see Elsinho and Alberg and Sapong. I think that's going to be one hell of a game, and I can't wait to see the turnout for it.
Now, the Union, they're what, fourth in the standings, I believe, still, right?
Fourth. They won last night, so that would make it – they're up to 34 points. I believe they're up to fourth place, but they are only – New York City got a draw last night, so they are 5 or 6 points behind New York City, I think, for the conference lead in the East.
Now, do you see the Union possibly challenging for the top spot again? Obviously, they were the top team in the conference for a little while this season, fell off the last month or whatever, but now they're back. Fourth place, Bedoya's on the club. Could this possibly vault them up the standings?
I think it can. One almost defining characteristic of MLS, even with the MLS 3.0, as some people call it, because now you've got all the big name players coming over, there's a lot of parity. It only takes a few consecutive wins to really jolt yourself up the standings. So if they can manage, they've got the win yesterday. If they can put together 3-4 wins in a row, which certainly is not out of the realm of possibility for a team with this much talent. If you can put together 3-4 wins in a row, you're right back up there. A couple of years ago when the New England Revolution were in the MLS Cup final against LA, they went through a stretch in August and September where they lost 6 in a row, and they recovered to finish third in the conference. So it is possible. You just need to get some bounces to go your way.
This is how bad the conference is per se. Because the Western Conference, you got FC Dallas, Colorado Rapids, LA Galaxy, Real Salt Lake. All 4 of these teams would be the top team in the Eastern Conference. But Union aren't in the West. They're in the East. So the top team, New York City FC, is 10-7-8, 38 points. So actually, they actually have more points than Real Salt Lake, but Real Salt Lake has a better record. They just haven't played as many games. So I lied. 3 teams better. But still, you get the point. A lot of parity. This reminds me of, I remember when the Eagles were NFC making all those playoff appearances, and they would play like these 8-8 teams in the division. I remember 2004 they played Minnesota. They were an 8-8 team. It was bad for a little while in the NFC.
Look at the 7-9 Carolina Panthers from 2 years ago, right? That team, where were they? 7-8-1, and they get a home playoff game.
But I remember, there were a couple years where wild card teams were 8-8, and that's what this kind of reminds me of.
Yeah, I think you said New York City has 38 points, so that would put the Union 4 behind.
Yes,
with a game in hand. Don't forget, the Union have a game in hand, and if my memory serves me right, they may play New York City one more time. I think they've played them twice. I think they play them one more time at Yankee Stadium. So that could be your conference decider if things go the way the Union want them to. But like I've said before, I think this team, with the addition of Bedoya, and you've got Maurice Edu coming back, who hasn't played all season because of a stress fracture in his leg. Granted, those are very difficult to come back from. But Jim Curtin has said he's in full training. He's not quite there yet, but I think within a week or so he'll be ready to go. So you can slot him into the number 8 role, which means then you can move Barnetta back to the number 8. Then you can put Bedoya out on the wing, which is more of his preferred position. It just gives you more flexibility. And I think the more that these guys play together, the better they're going to be. They already have no trouble scoring. Now, with these high-priced, high-quality players in the midfield, you'll be able to eliminate some gaps, which have popped up over the past few games because the defense has had to work a lot harder, and they have a very young back four. But with Bedoya, one thing about Bedoya is his work rate is fantastic. All the midfield guys, they work really hard to come back, track back, and play D. So with that hopefully going the way they want it, you'll be able to post more clean sheets and get back into the playoffs.
Yeah, Blake did make a nice save last night. He made this like diving attempt, I remember, on a shot outside the box.
Andre Blake owns the New England Revolution.
Clearly.
Well, his breakout game was against New England. I think it was last year. He made like 9 saves.
Yeah, I think I saw that in the pre-show leading up to the game. I think I saw that.
Although I am a bit concerned about how long they'll be able to hold on to him.
Now, before we go, let's talk real quick about the turf, because a soccer game, football match, whatever you want to call it, however technical you want to get. We are Americans. We don't know how to call it. We call it soccer. It's got to be played on grass. And I hate the turf. I hate when games are played on turf. They take these quirky bounces. The ball slides, so effortlessly. I hate that turf in New England.
It doesn't look, just from an aesthetic point of view, it looks tacky. Granted, last night it actually looked okay because the Patriots didn't have a game, so you don't have the football lines. But it is, for these professional players, playing on turf is a nightmare. For somebody like Thierry Henry, who dominated the Premier League for years, and the guys in the Premier League take care of those fields. For him to come over, he wouldn't play on he refused to play on turf. And the Red Bulls just had to deal with it whenever they went to Seattle or New England or somewhere that had a turf field. He just refused to play because it was too hard on his knees. And these European guys that come over aren't used to turf because it's garbage. It's like playing on concrete, like the old vet. But yeah, it's bad for soccer because the ball takes all kinds of wacky bounces, which could either be good or bad. It helped the Union in the U.S. Open Cup loss to the Revs a couple of weeks ago because the ball took a weird bounce up to Fabian Herber's belt line and he was able to knock it in. But I think it does more harm than good.
It's amateur hour. It really. I remember when the final between Chile and Argentina. I was a little bit scared for a second because I knew it was going to be played in MetLife Stadium. But credit to them, they did play on a grass field, so it wasn't on that turf. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna play the gold or fuck, I'm already blanking. Oh, what's it called? There you go. They're gonna play that on fucking turf. Are you kidding me? But at least they put grass on top.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. Any final thoughts before we head out?
Final thoughts. It's nice to see the Union get a nice win. Shout out to anybody out there that's a big Premier League fan. Say hello for the first weekend of the Premier League season. Got one match tomorrow. Have to give a nice shout out to Liverpool, scoring 4 goals away at Arsenal today to win 4-3. To the Eagles' offensive line, go fuck yourselves. Thanks a lot.
Did you see my picture on Twitter?
Yes.
Yeah, enough said. Well, my final thought, I don't really have anything per se, but congratulations for getting married.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome, good stuff. So congratulations to you and your wife.
Thank you.
And well, enjoy the rest of your life together, and hopefully she's not too much of a nuisance.
Nope, we're good.
I love it. Good shit, man. All right, for Brian Wright, I'm Adrian Fedke. We are out. We'll have another Union show. Maybe we'll start doing game recaps after games because Bedoya has invigorated me into wanting to watch these games.
Well, as we said, the next game is Saturday at home on the 20th. It's next Saturday. So
is it at night or afternoon?
Night game, so it'll be over around 9 o'clock.
Maybe we'll do a show right after the game. Probably not, because I'll probably be heading out. But if it was during the afternoon, fuck, man. I might watch it live. I might do it live, like Bill O'Reilly.
We'll do it live.
Yeah, might do it live. All right, Brian Wright.
I'm gonna get a Bitter Birds trip down to the games when they make the playoffs.
Oh, dude, I'll definitely go to a playoff game. Hell yeah. That's happening, actually. We're doing that.
That sounds good.
We will. All right, yeah, we'll meet up with Sean Brace. He's got season tickets down there, so yeah, we'll tailgate with him.
Beautiful.
All right, for Brian Wright, I'm Adrian Vecchi. We are out. Later.